Right, let's just double check, make sure that's running. Right. Hi everyone, back for part 2 with the main man, Greg Hanson. We're going to get straight back into it with the questions that I put together as well. The next one I've got is, obviously we've spoken about this before, so I'm not throwing it at you blindly. So you knew about this and you agreed to talk about this as well, so that was cool. But can you let us know about everything that happened on that unfortunate day, about you becoming ill and obviously to be honest, close to nearly losing your life at one point with what happened on the day? Can you let us know? I'm sure there's been plenty of rumours have gone round and sort of bits and bobs and people have guessed and added bits, I'm sure, but maybe you can shine some light on what actually happened.
I can tell you as it was. It was just so weird on how it happened, because it was the first time I'd ever gone to Washbrook Farm.
Okay.
And I had to change the day, my coaching day, to a Wednesday and not a Thursday, because I was actually going to a funeral of all things.
Okay.
And, I was there with 2 riders, and I just got the entry for Farley Castle veterans. And I knew I had to do a lot more riding that I'd been doing. So with the 2 riders I had were quite quick, so I'd spent the day riding with them.
Okay.
And I'd done 5 sessions with them that day, and working with them and talking with them as you do.
Yeah.
And I apparently, because I can't remember a month before what happened, and I can't remember a month afterwards.
Okay.
So it all out of my mind. But apparently, before I got out for the last session, my chest was a little bit tight.
Okay.
And went out, and I was going into a corner, over a small hump into a corner, and I just slumped over the bike and fell. Obviously, I'd had a cardiac arrest, and I fell right next to the paramedic that was there. They have a full-time paramedic there, and he was straight on the case, along with a lady that was there with her son. The first time it was his first time racing or riding, should I say? Actually, a midwife, and she'd come straight over and saw that I'd gone blue after 2 minutes, and they stripped me off and CPR for a while, and Martin, the paramedic, had got the defibrillator very quickly and realised they had to shock me, and they shocked me 4 times over the period of like 8 minutes, and the 4th time they shocked me, I came back, and it's so strange that Martin had actually said, look, when I switched the defibrillator on, the low battery light had come on. So
God.
Jesus. And I come back to life, and I took the big deep breath after about 8 to 10 minutes, and Lisa was on the CPR, and I came back to life. So, and they said that I'd been out for 8 to 12 minutes. So it's just, so weird that all this I'd changed where I was going to coach. Lisa was there, a paramedic. I crashed on the corner where the paramedic was, and he saw the problem. And the air ambulance came, and Cambridge was a good place for heart problems, in the hospital, the nearest hospital. And it was just so, I was so lucky.
Yeah.
A month or so after that, when I was up together, and I actually done a charity night. I'd sorted out a disco with a few friends and family, and I'd raised I raised £2,000 to go and give to the air ambulance, and I went and saw the guy that actually turned up to see me at the track.
Yeah.
And he said to me, he said, look, he said, I don't want to scare you. He said, but you had a 6% chance of surviving a cardiac arrest being away from hospital.
Yeah.
It actually sent shivers down my spine. So
Yeah, I bet.
It's something that it has really, really affected me for a long time.
Yeah.
When I was in hospital, I had my lungs were playing up, where I had pneumonia, and I got sepsis while I was, out cold, and I got an infection on one of my lungs, and I really, really went through it in hospital. And so, it just I'm a believer of the man up there, so I just think that he didn't want me to go at the time. So just talk about it, really.
Yeah. Even the chances of that woman, like you said, being, it was only a meeting she'd been at with her son, you said, and the chances that she was nearby as well, like, amazing.
And she was straight on it. She saw what was going on, and she dived in there and just said, I've got to do this, and it all came together on the day, and I was just so very, very lucky, It just someone didn't want me to go that day, and
definitely someone was looking down on you by the sounds of it.
Really,
Amazing.
So it's a tough time, and it's not been easy since, to be fair, but you've got to do what's in front of you, and it's all good. It's all good now. I've got a good woman beside me.
Yeah, that's great. What so it's like obviously the riding wise since then. Obviously, you've not really done much since then.
I've done a few laps here and there. I've done a charity sort of practice day through Slough Ace Riders. They wanted me to ride on the day, and I said I would.
Yeah.
And they actually prepped a guy prepped a 125 Kawasaki with my race number on that I won the British 125 on.
Yeah.
A copy of that, which was just such a treat to ride around,
That's cool, yeah.
I've done a few laps here and there, but I haven't got any laps in really. It's just too much now. So
yeah,
and, it just worries me now. From what happened, it's just I'm definitely not the same person I used to be, but trying hard to get back to finding myself.
Yeah. Because you was always so, even like later on in life as well, you've always been like still very competitive, still winning.
I think
really.
I think if it's in you, it's in you, and you will always, from I used to say from the age of, when I started at 12 years old to being 50 years old, when you're on the start line, nothing ever changes. You're still got that desire to do what you can possibly do. And, it's just the fact that particular day just stopped everything really in what I was doing. I'd have probably carried on for as long as I possibly could, because that was so much my life. It wasn't the most financially rewarding job in the world or what have you, but it was a massive part of my life, and it's I'll do it all again without a doubt. It was a big part of my life, so it's difficult now because my life is so different, but it was certainly.
So that's nice. That's nice. You've got your team thing going and things to.
Yeah. I do make a point of being able to or deal with people that I want to deal with, and want to work with, and people that want to do what's got to be done. So it's I have a good array of riders that really listen to what I have to say and do the job. So hopefully we can get something out of this and bring some forward to getting some more champions.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Right, that's brilliant. Okay, thanks for that. Right, next question I've got. Who would you say were the toughest three competitors you raced against in your career, and why those three? If you can think of that. Got an idea of one, maybe.
No, that was the widest rider in the world, which was Matt.
Oh yeah, I remember that you saying about that. Is that like obviously he was a blocker?
He was he was younger than me, and
yeah.
we were on the same team at the time, and he just didn't want me to come past. But I had to think about this,
Yeah.
and the toughest riders I've worked with or had to ride with was Neil Childs. I mentioned this in my question and answers, and it was a lad or a guy that I'm still friends with.
Okay.
Who schoolboys we had dice after dice, and we were like this all through schoolboys, and we always rode hard, and he always hello Frankie, you're right. He always it was just such good racing, and that was my schoolboy times. Adults, there's two that really stand out, and that was Mark Banks. With Mark, you had a hard job ahead, because he would never give up, and I suppose I'm a little bit the same. So we had some good battles.
Yeah.
And the third one was Graham Noyce. I met Graham, when he was at the end of his career, but there was one time, and this was a different time, at the Ken Hall when we were doing some twin shock racing.
Yeah, okay.
Graham only rode for certain meetings. I was riding regularly, so I was quite fit for the act. Graham only came out on occasions, and he was very, very fast for 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah.
And I remember this one race at the Ken Hall. We gated. I led it, and Graham was second. And he came past me, and we went backwards and forwards, past each other for 3 or 4 laps, so many times. And the places he passed me, and how he got there, I was just absolutely gobsmacked. And it was just an absolute pleasure to race with someone that was so goddamn determined, and his racing days were over, and he was there, because people wanted him there, and he just put absolutely everything into it. And the passes he made on me were incredible. Nothing wrong with them. Absolutely, like whoa, and it was safe. But wow, I thought, wow, this is just unbelievable. And after 4 or 5 laps, he got tired because he's not got race fitness. And I remember the first race, he dropped back in second place, and I waited for him to go over the line, and I waited, and he come up to me, and we went over the line together, and we sort of held hands together going over the line. But it was just, for me, it was so much respect to race with him, and just realize, God, now I understand why he was what he was, because it was just fantastic. It was such a pleasure, and I would say an honour to race around with a guy like that. It was fantastic, and I just think, God, if there was more people like that about in our world, we would have so much more, and wow, it was such a pleasure. So that was the 3.
Awesome, spot on. All right, what was the next one I've put down here? I've put, is there a race team or a race bike that you wish you got to ride in the team or on a certain bike, and if so, why?
In '94, I had a 125 Honda. I was a private. I was riding for my brother then.
Yeah.
And we got support from Honda UK, just with equipment.
Yeah.
And we got organised it was called a Pigeon kit. So it's basically just the top end that went on this bike.
Yeah.
And it was just the most incredible engine, you know. And I was old then. I was nearly 30, and I was in the 125s, which were all youngsters, and it was just made such a difference to have a bike that worked correctly.
Yeah.
And I think I could have been close to having a title that year if I hadn't broke my wrist towards the end of the season. But anyway, it made me realise that how important an engine alone was, you know, in any class. And I was always a 125 rider. And I don't say it was a team that I would have liked to have ridden for. It was just I would have loved to have been get involved more with the 125 world and have a competitive bike in the 125s. Just any team really, as long as the bike was competitive, you know. I think if you have a Grand Prix spec machine, then maybe I could have done something. Who knows? But that was a long time ago. But yeah, just a competitive bike I would have liked, but not any team in particular.
Because I remember watching some British Championships from back then as well, and I think I might have even put a photo or two up of you on that Honda that year in '94, and I see a couple of whole shots and stuff at British Championship. You see you.
Shots. It's unbelievable how that bike used to come out the gate. It was absolutely incredible. So it was an unbelievable engine, and all it was a head and barrel, and you had to put it on race fuel, and that was it. It made such a massive difference.
Oh yeah, so that was really good then.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that then. Right, I've got down here. So I think you sort of mentioned it a bit there, really. I just sort of put about, obviously you rode all the bikes, didn't you? 125, 250, 500. What did you actually enjoy racing the most and why?
What did I enjoy racing most and why? Again, I think, it explained it in the last one really. 125s. I was always slightly built, and the 125s was my thing really. And the reason being is when I moved to Ford Nellis at the age of 16, Charlie put me on a 465 Yamaha, and then a 490 Yamaha the year after. So I was always on big bore bikes at a young age. And then when I moved down to competing on 125s, I was really up for it and could work them really hard for the whole race. So 125 was my thing because of my size, and you know I've never been strong. I've got fit, but I was never strong. So 125 was my class. I would love to have stayed in that longer.
Because I remember you like I've seen you like whole shot in, and you drove 500 GPs as well, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I remember you on the Kawasaki. I think it was maybe even an Axo helmet, a bit orangey on the front. I remember as well. But you always seemed to go well on that 500 as well. Then, so you'd have thought that had been difficult for the size of the way you were.
Well, the 500s I was always good on. I could tend to ride anything very well, but the fact that I just didn't have this strength. I remember when Alec did say to me that Ace, you're on 500s next year, and I said okay. And through the winter, I trained hard and tried to build a bit of weight, and I had a serious back problem when I was trying to build weight quickly. I was sort of taking all the powders and stuff to get my weight. I had to stop doing what I was doing because it caused a back problem. So I was meant to be 11 and a half stone, and that was the weight I rode for a 500, what I suppose was a little bit light really. So I'd love to have stayed on the smaller bikes really. But
fair enough. That seemed to be your thing then. Right, next question. I've put what are your thoughts on the difference between the 2-strokes and the 4-stroke bikes, and what do you prefer to ride yourself and why?
Well, it's an interesting one because I spent many years on 2-strokes. I am a 4-stroke rider. I do love the 4-strokes. I went early on to 4-strokes with CCM. And I do enjoy the 4-stroke power because you can put so much down, coming out the turns.
Oh, okay.
They have got so much traction, and they don't snap at all. And as you see from modern day racing, you can ride them so fast. They are such good pieces of kit. So yeah, I would say I adapted to four-stroke racing very early and really stuck with it, and quite enjoyed it. There are people, pros that never enjoyed going the four-stroke route, but I thought it was, for me personally, it suited the way I rode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all good for me.
Fair enough. I've got a question here. I wrote down was, can you tell us something about you that not many people would know? Ooh.
I've got these down. And then one was when I was 8 or 9. I think I was about 8 or 9 years old. Yeah. My introduction to scrambling was on my older brother's orange tanked AJS. Okay. And we lived on a farm then, so he said we used to go up and down the centre of the field, and he said, whatever you do not put it in third gear. I was going up and down, and I'd gone up and down about 4 times, and I put it in. I thought, I'm confident now, I'm going to put it in the third gear. So I put it in the third gear, and I got the biggest handlebar shake.
Tank slap.
It threw me into the field, but it was it was summertime, so it helped my landing. But yeah, it threw me off completely. A big adult bike, AJS, and it just threw me. That was one of the things. Another thing is that people don't know about me. I'm one of 10 brothers and sisters.
Bloody hell, 10.
I passed my driving test on my 17th birthday.
Okay.
Yeah. I share my birthday with Princess Di.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Did you like Princess Di? I loved her.
Oh, awesome. Absolutely awesome. Cracking.
I actually remember being in a garage on the morning of going to a motocross meeting on the early Sunday morning, getting the news about the accident and that, and was like, whoa, it was like a massive shock. Yeah,
same for me. I was racing CCM that day at Winchester.
Right, okay.
I heard the news on the way down, and it was just, it ruined it.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, it was a weird one, wasn't it? Right, what have I got here now? I've heard you're now a bit of a football fan. How's that come about?
My wife is a footballer, and she's quite a good footballer. It really impresses me the way she plays football. She's such a nice, calm, controlled person. Yet when she gets out on the football pitch, she's an animal. Proper.
Yeah.
It's obviously women's football, and I suppose if you've got to watch it, you've got to watch it, really. But I'll take it. No, she's a good footballer, and it's nice to be away from racing motorbikes and go in another direction. And I really get involved with helping her, mentally, and it's really good. I like it when she has a good game and stuff. But she's proper hard out there. She is proper hard. So hard that she hurts herself, and she just goes in for tackles that. Oh God! But it's really good. I enjoy it. I enjoy it when we win.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, I'm the same with football. Right, I've put on here. Right, can you tell us another funny story about your motocross days? God.
And there's many, but there's a lot to talk about, as probably most can say this. funny day was when I went to my first national meeting up in Scotland, and I went with my mum, who, by the way, only ever probably came twice. I went with my mum and my brother in a Ford Cortina with on the back on the trailer. And when we got about 10, 11 o'clock, my mum slept in the passenger seat, my brother slept in the driver's seat, and I slept outside just under the car. I squeezed under the car in a sleeping bag, and that was it.
Was it?
Drops on my nose in the morning when I woke up. And that was one. That was just, that I'll always remember that, because we really weren't organised. And the second one was, we went to Namur one year, and on the way down, we went in a transit van, 16 of us, and we had to have a pit stop on the way down. Obviously, a lot of drink was involved.
Yeah.
So we pulled up, and went out and relieved themselves, and they all got back in, and they were all chuckling. Well, one person in particular was chuckling. So off we went. I drove off because I was driving.
Okay.
And as I drove away, I looked in the rear view mirror, and there was these flames in this field. And I thought, what's going on? And anyway, nothing was said, but what it came to was someone lit a fag, lit up, and set this field ablaze, because it had obviously been, and it was actually apparently made the news and stuff. But the field went up.
Jesus Christ!
Well, I can't drop no names.
No.
But yeah, that was something that always.
That was a bit of a sight then. That was a bit of a sight when you was driving off then.
And this field of smoking, and they were chuckling. I just think, oh God, here we go again. There are many stories, because I had a really good support group, that were regularly up to mischief, and sometimes embarrassed me also. Yeah. But it was really they're good. They're all still around, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
That's a brilliant story. Right, I'm just going to stop that recording to end that part 2, because it's gone to 27 minutes, and so make sure it saves all right. Okay, and then I'll just be back in a minute.